Today I want to talk to you guys about something that is a little bit of a sore subject for some, and something that we really have mixed messages about in our society. What I want to talk about is selfishness.
I'm Dr. Williams, and this is my podcast. I have 2 graduate degrees in psychology, am a licensed mental health counselor, and an expert in the area of spirituality. I am devoted to living my best life and am sharing it with all of you. I'm bringing my expertise, education, and life experiences to you through this podcast. Everyone deserves to enjoy life, and that is what I'm here to talk about. Depression, anxiety, grief, you name it, we all go through it at one time or another. I believe there's a better way to come at these things than mainstream mental health care offers, and I'm here to offer you my perspective and dig into discovering how you can feel good no matter what life throws at you. It is my intention to contribute goodness to this world, and the content herein is how I do that. But one disclaimer before we dive in: should you decide to apply the information offered here, be prepared for improvements in your life. You may even live happily ever after, and you'll only have yourself to thank. This is Feel Good Now, the Dr. Williams podcast.
Ultimately, the word selfish or selfishness has a negative connotation to it. Usually it's used as a point of criticism for people who are totally focused on themselves and not being considerate of anybody else. However, recently in our society, there has been a movement towards selfishness, promoting self-care, taking care of yourself. This is predominantly seen in groups of women that are encouraging other women to take time out for themselves and promote your self-care, because when you focus on your self-care, you are a better mother and a better partner and a better employee and et cetera, et cetera. So then you start talking about hot button topics like current events. Now selfishness is a negative thing again, because if you are promoting one view that opposes my view, well, you're not being very considerate of me. You are being selfish. And you see how this kind of goes back and forth, where being selfish is a bad thing, and then at other times it's a really good thing. So I'm here to talk about that. I think that selfishness is always a good thing, and I'm going to tell you why. The laws of attraction and the teachings of Abraham 100% promote being selfish. Because when you are focused on yourself, that is how you find your alignment with Source and with your inner being. And if you are making decisions and you are behaving in a way that matches up with that alignment, then you can never go wrong. Selfishness is really the basis of spiritual connectedness with your inner being. It is the spiritual pillar of life. Everything comes down to some form of selfishness. But if you are being selfish in a way to where you are aware of your emotional guidance system and you're using that to find your alignment with source energy, then your views are never, ever, ever wrong. Our society has its way of ebbing and flowing in the topic of selfishness. So basically, the message we get is, if your views don't match mine, then your selfishness is wrong. If your views do match mine, now I feel validated in my own selfishness. It's all really about alignment. Do your views align with my views? If they don't, then I experience a feeling of misalignment, which gives me a negative feeling, which makes me want to blame somebody, right? That is what ends up happening, is when people experience these negative emotions in respect to any given topic, they don't understand that that negative emotion is communication with their source energy. It's just meant to be an internal dialogue. It's something that is happening in you and can be resolved within you. But what happens is people are experiencing this misalignment with someone else. There's a misalignment on views, and they automatically want to put blame on it. They want to blame something or someone for how they feel. And since it doesn't feel good and they feel bad, they automatically go to, well, I'm pretty solid in what I think, so that must mean that what you think is wrong. And I don't feel good because you aren't seeing it my way, which is the right way. And the reason we have so much trouble with that is because that's happening on both sides. Both people are feeling and experiencing the same thing. They both feel that misalignment when they're discussing their views and you're not able to match up on how you see things. And then they are blaming the other person for their own emotions and their negative feelings. Alignment always feels good, right? That is what we're trying to do here. You're always trying to maintain alignment, but there's too much external attention, looking outside of ourselves in order to find alignment. Basically, we're looking for love in all the wrong places, because all the love that we really need or want or could ever have is within us already. Our inner being is always flowing love to us. And whether we are in alignment or not determines on whether we're feeling that love or not. When you look elsewhere, when you're looking outside of yourself towards other people in order to find that alignment, many times we find misalignment because not everybody sees everything the same way. That's why we have variety. If everybody was the same, it'd be super boring. So we have diversity. But appreciating that diversity comes with understanding these negative emotions and the alignment, and understanding that everybody is not going to match up on everything. And that's okay. When you experience those negative emotions, that is a time for you to recognize it, first of all, and then realize, oh, the reason I'm experiencing this negative emotion in this conflict with this other person, because my views do not match up with their views, has nothing to do with blaming them and their views. It means that my human consciousness is condemning something that my source energy, that God, my inner being, does not condemn. Did you hear that? That's really big. Your negative emotions are communication with your inner being. Your inner being is communicating to you that your inner being feels different than what you are experiencing right now. If you can think a different thought, try on some different thoughts about that topic until you find one that you do feel good about, that feels really good, now you've found your alignment. If the other person can do the same thing, you guys are always going to find alignment together in that. This is universal law, okay? This is guaranteed. If you can successfully use your emotional guidance system to find alignment with your inner being, and the other person that you are interacting with can do the very same thing, you will line up, no matter the topic, 100% of the time. You will. But instead, what ends up happening? You are interacting with somebody and you're discussing a topic and you realize that your views are different. And then you start to get defensive because you want to validate your views and your position, and they start to get defensive and they start to want to validate their views and their position, and now you guys are butting heads. And then comes the name calling, right? Then you start going, well, you're not considering me and how I see things. You're being selfish. And that's how selfishness really got a bad rap. because it's been used to blame other people, when ultimately selfishness is wonderful and is something that I am always going to encourage you to do. It should never be used in a negative way. So when you do that, when you start calling people selfish and labeling their behaviors as wrong, really all you're doing is you're sharing to the world that you're misaligned with your inner being. And that could be something that is more private and something that you are aware of and you are giving your attention to personally in your inner world. And your consciousness and your inner being can work on that to find that alignment within you. But people get so angry and upset, and then they start blaming other people, and then a big argument happens, and now you got momentum going. And we've talked a little bit about momentum. But as that starts going faster and faster, and you keep getting more and more momentum, now you're way on down the road with that negativity, and it's going to be a lot harder to get back and turn that around. And that's how a lot of these things are happening in our society that become such huge, big, hot button topics, because these things have a lot of momentum going. There's not intervention early on, and now people are so angry and divided that it's hard to find common ground again. So here's a secret. This is the secret to getting anything and everything that you want. Nothing is off limits. The secret is you have to stop focusing on what is and start focusing on what you want. Okay? Did you hear that? Did that resonate with you? Because that is really the ticket to a happy life for everybody. You got to stop focusing on what is. You know, that realism that I talked about in a previous episode, where you say you're a realist and you're just kind of focused on the way things are currently. You got to stop doing that. That is not helping you or anybody else. Basically, you are just focused and reiterating the dysfunction in the world, the manifestations that are dysfunctional. So those are things that are currently going on in our society that are not working well. And you just talking about it is giving it more momentum. That's why I mentioned in a previous episode about the school shooting, how I avoided it. I avoided it at all cost, because that is something I do not want in our reality. I do not want to manifest more school shootings. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to read about it. I don't want to hear about it. Don't come to me with it, because that's not something that I want to promote. You cannot think and talk about things that you do not want. I don't care if it's already happening in our society currently. Talking about it and thinking about it is giving it more power. Stop it. Do some creative thinking and some creative speaking. Think it the way you want it to be. Say it the way you want it to be. Write it down. Script it. This can feel weird at first because we're taught not to lie, right? Lying is bad, and people prefer honesty in people. And so if you're being creative about what you're thinking and you're saying, it might feel like you're lying. You got to let go of that. There's a lot of resistance around that. And in order to allow things to come about in a way that you want it to, this is what you have to do. So don't think about it as if it's lying, because that's going to hold you up. That's going to put negativity on your road. You got to think about it as if you are being a humanitarian, okay? You are helping the world by being a forward thinker and thinking in a way that creates our world. That's what we are. We are each creators. And this is how you do it deliberately. This is how you create a reality in your life in a deliberate way. Think the way you want it to be. Say it the way you want it to be. Write it down the way you want it to be.
Real quick, before I get back to this topic, I want to know if you have a product or service that aligns with the content here on the Dr. Williams podcast. If so, this space could be your advertisement. Reach out to me by going to drwilliamspodcast.com. Okay, back to the episode.
Okay, so let's talk about that in reference to some specific things in our society. So there are a lot of wars, right? Now, I'm not talking about overseas wars, battles, where men and women go and they fight for their country. That too, I mean, this applies to that as well. But what I'm talking about is like the war on drugs or the war on teen pregnancy, mothers against drunk drivers, things like that. Things that are negatively worded and focused. Because war, that's got a negative connotation to it. Against, as in mothers against drunk drivers, another negative connotation there. What you have to understand is the universe does not hear the negativity. It just kind of takes that part out. Okay, let's use an example. If I were to say, I don't want this cough that I have, the universe doesn't hear the word don't. Don't is a negative word. The universe doesn't hear it. So it just takes it out. So then it hears, I want this cough that I have. You see how that works? So now you continue to have that cough because basically you're saying you do want it when really you don't want it. When if you were to rephrase that and say, I appreciate my health and wellness, that is more positively focused. It kind of makes me think of Mother Teresa. I don't know the direct quote, but Mother Teresa said something along the lines of, do not invite me to an anti-war rally, but I will gladly go to a peace rally. Because she got it. She understood how the universe communicates and deciphers the messages that we're giving to it. Peace, that's positive. Anti-war, that's negative. So when you focus on the negative things in our society and you're wanting to fight them, that's counterproductive. Instead, you have to work on promoting that which you want to see. Let's talk about this as it relates to COVID, because this is something that I can speak to personally. When COVID first came out, I was fearful of it. And, you know, the whole world shut down. My husband was quarantined at home with us, and he is not the type to not go to work. He goes to work every day. He works until the work is done. He really likes to be working. So that really said a lot about our state of mind at that time, because it was scary, because we were listening to mainstream media and everybody kind of had this fear of COVID. Now, as things progressed, as I started to be informed on differing views, I started to lean towards views that were less fear-driven. And I think that's just my own personal drive. I just have more of an attraction towards things that are not fear-based, because based on my spiritual knowledge, I understand that good things do not come out of fear. So I lean that way. And I ended up taking a position on the COVID vaccinations. I normally am more of a neutral person when it comes to hot button topics. as I've mentioned before, I am pro-life choice. If it's your life, it is your choice. And I respect that. But even I got wrapped up in the COVID vaccination divide. I don't know why that one grabbed a hold of me the way that it did, but I took my position against it, against the vaccinations. I will say right now that if you are pro-COVID vaccines, I support you 100%, because I know now that what it really comes down to is your belief structure. If you believe that something is going to be helpful for you, if you truly believe that, then your belief will support you based on laws of attraction. But if you believe that something is harmful to you, also law of attraction. So, you kind of get what you focus on and what you believe in. And for me, the vaccinations were unnecessary and possibly very harmful. So I was against them. And I was reading research articles, and I was posting on social media my opinion, and I was arguing with people that had a different view than me. And one of the things that was coming up a lot was selfishness. Now, I did not blame anybody for being selfish, but it was used against me and in this divide, right? Because it really became a political battle where people that were for the vaccines were usually categorized as a Democrat, and those who were against the vaccines usually were categorized as a Republican. And people were making these assumptions about me and my political views, which were very inaccurate. And somebody actually said that I was being selfish by not getting vaccinated because my actions could harm somebody else. And this made me feel very defensive and angry because historically, I have been very unselfish. I have a tendency to take care of other people before I take care of myself. And that's really at the core of my being. I think a lot of mothers and fathers, but ultimately I can relate with mothers, so I'm going to say mothers, are this way. We have a tendency to take care of other people and sacrifice our own needs until everyone else is taken care of. So when this accusation of selfishness was thrown at me, it made me want to fight back. And this is before I know what I know now. So I don't feel that way anymore. I can let that roll off my back now. And I know different. For one, I know that historically I have not been a selfish person. And for two, I know that's exactly what I need to be doing, is being a selfish person. So that isn't hurtful to me anymore. But my point is that I got pulled into this divide in our society when I believe wholeheartedly in unity. Being that I was living there in this division and being categorized by other people who really didn't know me very well, I can speak to the fact that blame and the name calling really did not help us to find common ground. And that's what we need to be focused on. We need to be focused on humanity. We are all humans. We're all here living our own lives with the same purpose. So there's really no need for us to be divided on anything. This applies to every topic, including race. Race is a hugely discussed topic, and the division between races has been highlighted for centuries. But here's what I'm noticing. I'm feeling right now like I have to be careful about what I say. And that's because I truly do not want to offend anybody. And I don't want to put anybody on the defensive. And being a white female in America, already I'm feeling like people are closed off to me. because of the way our society is so focused on race. That feeling that I'm getting of holding back, I have to realize right now in that moment that negative feeling I am experiencing just means that I'm experiencing something out of alignment. My source energy does not feel that way, that I should feel that way. So if I am to align with my inner being and just speak my truth, then I will find that I feel better. And that's a good feeling. So that's what I'm going to do. So what I want to say about that is I have been noticing a lot of racially driven behaviors. And a lot of them are disguised as positive action, when really what they're doing is counterproductive. I think what's happening is where people are seeing that there's a problem. So there's this racial divide in our country, and they really want unity, right? So what they want to do is they want to focus on uplifting these people that they view as being suppressed. In doing so, they're isolating the racial issue more by focusing on those who are suppressed and their skin color and trying to lift those people up. Am I making sense? The only way to dissolve the race division is to focus on humanity as if there are no differences between us. So this goes back to that discussion of what I was saying. You cannot focus on the negative thing that you are trying to get rid of. You have to promote the positive thing that you're trying to bring about. So by focusing on any one race and you trying to uplift those people within that race, you are maintaining the division between races. True equality means not thinking or talking about our differences in ways that categorizes us into little piles. True equality is being pro-life choice. It's your life, it's your choice, not because of your race or your gender or your sexual orientation or your age or your lifestyle or. True equality is support for each individual based on their own beautiful selfishness. It means letting go of stereotypes. Somebody likes hunting because they like hunting. Somebody likes a particular fruit because they like that fruit, not because of the color of their skin or because of the place they live or. Do you see what I'm saying here? The choices that each individual makes that makes them into their person, makes them their uniqueness, is just because of them being who they are, not because of their connection to other people who share that. Does that make any sense to you guys? I'm just trying to say that we are our unique selves because that's who we are creating ourselves to be. And sometimes we have similar things that match up with other people, and sometimes we don't. And despite our differences, we all just have to appreciate that diversity amongst us and support each other in that selfishness. Let's promote this selfishness. Selfishness is a good thing. For the sake of all humanity, please, 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 please be selfish and raise your children to be selfish. Through selfishness, all things which divide us will dissolve. Use your emotional guidance system to maintain your alignment with source energy. If everybody did that at the same time, if we all were able to manage to do that at the same time, we would achieve world peace instantly. Instantly. Because once you are aligned in your selfishness, connecting with your inner being, your true loving source, everything you do from that place is good, positive, pure, light energy. You can't go wrong with that. Why wouldn't you want everyone to be doing that same thing? Selfishness is the answer. It's the key to your happiness and to mine. I support you in yours, 100%.
That concludes this episode, but if you don't want to wait for the next episode to come out, I have more for you at drwilliamspodcast.com. You can learn more about me and my journey to podcasting, find all the ways to connect with me on social media, and there's a button to subscribe so you're the first to know what's new and upcoming. You also can shoot me an email at hello@drwilliamspodcast.com. You are so special to me, and your support does not go unnoticed. I want to support you too. This podcast is my outlet for growth because when you teach something, you hold yourself accountable and apply the information in life. But the inspiration for these episodes comes in a variety of ways, and one of those is through you. I want you to feel like this is your show too. So send me a message and let me know which episode is your favorite and why. And tell me if there's a topic you'd want to hear me talk about. Your feedback applies to so many people, and your suggestion could change someone's life for the better. The best way to do this is by subscribing to the show and leaving a review through your favorite podcast platform. I really listen to you guys, and this dialogue feeds my soul. You say that you're a fan of me, but truth be told, I am a fan of yours. Everything is working out for each of us, and we're all in this together.